Good morning, everyone. My name is Pramod Bhuvan, and I welcome you all to our first session on marine insurance knowledge sharing. I'm Pramod Bhuvan. I'm the director at Riverbank Insurance Brokers Private Limited, most popularly known as Insurance Manager. Uh, we Today the idea is to empower our supply chain professionals and finance professionals to keep them updated about the new trends in marine online insurance. Today we will be discussing very briefly about what is this policy, what are the coverages under these policies, how we help businesses to explore their risk in supply chain management and design suitable and viable programs for them in the long run. We will also very briefly discuss about our USP, which is gap analysis audit. We'll also touch upon the losses experiences in marine claims. We will be discussing about marine logistics and risk management. Marine policy operations, again, a very important aspect, especially considering the fact that marine is one of those products which requires high intensity of servicing. Similarly, what we have also experienced in MSME companies, there are a lot of claims which come under marine, whether it is handling losses, accidental losses. So we will be exploring as to what kind of solutions which we have in the marine claims process, which can empower corporates to streamline their claims process. And finally, we will skip to structured solutions. Today, I will be joined by my co-colleague Sandeep Jadhav, who helps us in marine underwriting and marine policy operations. And Post the session, we will be uploading a copy of the video on our official handle of Insurance Manager on YouTube, which can be viewed at a later convenient time. Uh, right, and with this, I kickstart the session and go to the second slide, which is wherein we will be discussing about the main agenda of the session today. So this is the flow. The contents are like what starting from origin of marine insurance. In fact, I'll take you through. Marine insurance happens to be the oldest form of insurance available. And then we'll broadly touch upon the coverages, and the other synopsis is the same, which I have already discussed, exploring the supply chain risk, gap analysis, losses, experiences, how we can help you in logistics and risk management for marine, similarly operations and structured solutions. Okay, so this is the first slide for today, which is basically the origin of marine insurance. So there is no written record as to when the first marine insurance was done, but it is from what we gathered from the information from the website and Wikipedia. We happen to know that this is a product which is 3,000 years old. And Initially, it was mostly started as a concept of mutual agreement between traders who used to ply through ocean, and where there were a lot of maritime risk associated with those cargo, and to take care of that the marine insurance was introduced in India. It happened in 1850 with the setting of Triton Insurance Company, which was UK based company. But in 1907, the Indian Mercantile Insurance Company came into existence, which was the first Indian insurance company which started issuing marine insurance policies. And over the time, since 1973, as we are all aware, that all these small and big insurance companies were merged and merged into four public sector insurance companies, namely Oriental, United, National, and New India. And the rest is history. As we say, since 2001, we are all aware that private insurance company came into existence, and today the numbers are around 35 insurance companies operating in India. And out of that, mostly almost all insurance companies do marine insurance. Right. This is a small AV on the marine insurance thing. Uh, Right. Actually, the first point today I want to discuss is that normally marine insurance for a lot of our insurance making, decision making professionals in finance and supply chain, they all normally associate marine insurance with only ocean going cargo, ocean cargo insurance. But it's not true. In fact, marine insurance covers all legs of transit, whether it goes through sea, rail, road, air. And the first slide is basically an eye opener as to what marine insurance covers. So, marine cargo insurance covers all risk associated during the transit of the cargo, which happens to be fire, explosion, sinking of the vessel, any vessel which gets stranded, collision of the vehicle, overturning of the vehicle, यानी गाड़ी पलटी हो जाना, derailment of vehicle, which is more common in case of trains. If the cargo is left at a point of distress, maybe because of war or any other chaos or embargo, it can happen. General average very important. These are claims basically जहाँ पे अगर if the vessel catches fire and some of the containers have to be offloaded, which is called as jettisoning, that is also covered. And अगर ये jettison करना पड़ता है यानी कुछ containers को नीचे पानी में गिरा देना पड़ेगा, तो the claim will be paid by or will be managed or distributed among the other cargo carriers who have containers on the vessel. Similarly, natural calamity damages like your all your act of God perils, including storm, flood, writing strikes are covered. Survey fees, which is basically a post loss fees which is associated with survey of the cargo. Loss adjustment fees, which is how we salvage those material, will also be part of the expenses under the marine cargo claim. Forwarding expenses is also covered. Cost of conditioning, repacking is also covered. Washing overboard, especially this is related to claims where there is ingress of seawater. Especially it happens if there are holes in containers or vessels, mostly in containers, which results into damage of cargo, is also covered. Jettisoning. Similarly, total loss of package during loading or unloading is also covered under the marine insurance policies. Here, what we have tried doing is we have tried to give you a very brief. Normally, marine insurance is pursued and presented as, sir, it is an all risk cover. Yes, it is true, it is an all risk cover because ICCA clause, which is the latest wording which was amended in 2009, which is prevalent in India today. The last wordings were 1992 wordings, but currently in the Indian market, the 2009 ICCA wording, which is the most comprehensive wording available in Indian and the global market, is prevalent now, which broadly covers, as I told you, fire, collision, overturning, discharge. But what is important is the if you are getting a restricted cover, so you should know कि by ICC-B में, which is a restricted, ICC-C, which is even more restricted, what is the difference between the two. So if you see, what we have done is we have plotted yes and no. And if you see on the ICC-B, any total loss of package while loading and unloading is not covered, any other risk. So ICC-A is an unnamed peril policy, whereas ICC-B में ये ऊपर के 9 चीजें अगर होती है तो ही पॉलिसी कवर करेगी, इसके अलावा कोई चीजें हैं तो पॉलिसी नहीं कवर करेगी. So that's the beauty of ICC-A clause. A stands for all risk. Similarly, ICC-C doesn't cover any maritime perils, especially entry of sea, river, or lake water. Even act of God perils like earthquake and volcanic eruption is also not covered. So this is the very broadly the difference between ICC-A, B, and C clauses. Broadly, today we have purposefully kept with this slide, especially cargo and the legs of transit. We thought of again giving the insights to our stakeholders in corporates as to normally cargo insurance is pursued with the finished products which they manufacture, and most of the underwriting efforts which we see in modern days is towards underwriting the final goods. But to make a final product, there are a lot of raw materials, there are a lot of transits between job work which happens. So the idea here is that to blow out that that any cargo which includes your finished goods, raw materials, packing materials, capital goods, spares, gift items, tools, and all other such similar items can be bundled into this package policy, which is the transit insurance policy. Similarly, most of the time again legs of transit is pursued as कि भाई इसमें sales ही covered है, चाहे वो domestic हो या export sales है, but which is not the case. In fact, there are modern day policy available called as the stop policy, which has the flexibility to inculcate, in fact, your entire 360-degree supply chain risk, which includes your sales, purchases, export sales, import purchases, similarly job work, interdepot movement, capital goods, and sales returns also. So these all can be incorporated in your one single policy. And the beauty of this is that even in fact in stop policy, the outward leg, which is your export sales and domestic sales, are calculated for premium. The rest, all legs of transit are free under this policy. We don't want to dwell more into the Incoterms, because as professionals in businesses, you understand what are the terms of sale. These are normally part of the invoice. These are the Incoterms which govern the international trade obligation, especially the export and import purchases have to be complied by Incoterms, which can be CIF, CNF, CFR. So basically CIF is cost insurance freight, which very purely means that if you're selling a goods on CIF terms, तो आपको cost तो आपका ही, insurance भी आप bond करेंगे और freight भी आप ही bond करेंगे. Similarly, CFR is only cost and freight. Sometimes it can be FOB, which is also a very popular form of Incoterm, wherein free on board, कि आपने vessel पे चढ़ा दिया इंडियन पोर्ट पे या जो आपका लोकल पोर्ट है, तब तक आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. Then there is something called as free alongside ship. X works is also there, which means any sale happening. So once it goes out of the factory, the obligation ends. So here it's a very detailed chart which you can go through when we share the presentation with you, which lays down the who is responsible for what kind of risk. Similarly, on the x-axis, you can see export, loading charges, clearance charges. And on the y-axis, you can see all these terms of Incoterms, which is CFR, CIF. Right, thank you. Okay, now very important. We will take you through what is the internal practice which we as an organization have developed over a period of time, understanding businesses and their operations. Which we call as the gap analysis and policy underwriting. So normally, if you see a lot of people mostly do the pricing underwriting, which we कि भाई इसका 5 पैसा है तो उसको 4 पैसा दे देते, किसी का 4 है तो उसे 3 पैसा दे देते. But over the period of time, with our experience in handling claims and identifying flaws in the overall supply chain model, we go into a very detailed gap analysis, and basis that we underwrite the policy. Gap analysis is a detailed dive into your client's operations of business vis-a-vis your supply chain process, so that all your goods which you procure and the goods which you sell are all covered under the policy. So for this, what we do is we review your existing contracts. We also benchmark your coverage against your sub-industry peers. So we don't do a analysis, say, for plastic or chemicals or textiles, but we also deep dive and we identify whether it is a texturizing yarn unit. So what kind of raw materials you consume, what kind of finished products you make and sell, what is your business process, whether you have job work movements, what is your business model, it is whether it is a B2B model, B2C. See, these all, so we ask a lot of questions which are relevant to your businesses and your forward supply chain. Including your procurement chain. We sit down with the supply chain managers and understand, and that is how we actually define the coverages under the policy. Similarly, business model and Incoterms, raw material and finished goods study. For example, I would like to give you an example here. We recently had underwritten a policy for a wire manufacturing company which was into manufacturing of copper wire, and we had got a claim of chemical manufacturing chemicals, solvents basically, for flashpoint less than 32. uh, Even though the cover was there in the policy, we were little surprised and shocked to see कि metal wires का और chemical solvents का क्या है. तो then when we deep dive we realized that कि chemical copper wire के लिए जो enamel use होते हैं, those are those polishing is done by those chemical solvents. So what happens is all those raw materials which you procure also becomes very equally important. They may be in solid, liquid, or gas form sometimes. Sometimes they may be hazardous, they may be fragile. So we need to understand the properties of those procurement raw material, and accordingly ensure those kind of clauses are incorporated in the policy to ensure that if there is a claim, the claim is paid right and fair. Next. Uh, Here we have a presentation on what we do in gap analysis. Right. So this is what this was the video on the gap analysis, which where we, what is the internally, what is the protocol which we follow to ensure that we deliver it right first time and every time. Similarly, I was talking about a lot of important information related to your business operations, which ideally an underwriter should ask the risk manager sitting in the corporate to ensure that we design right programs for them. Which starts with as basic as identifying what business, whether manufacturer, trader, what are the products, what are those products application, in which industry they are going, what is the list of raw material, finished goods, nature of commodity, बिजनेस मॉडल मतलब बी टू बी है, बी टू सी है, ट्रेडिशनल मॉडल है या मॉडर्न ट्रेड बिजनेसेस है, टर्नओवर क्या है, लोकल का एक्सपोजर क्या है, एक्सपोर्ट्स क्या है, सप्लाई चेन फ्लो क्या है, इन द सेंस कि आपका माल डायरेक्ट बिजनेस टू बिजनेस जाता है या बीच में डीलर डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर नेटवर्क है, वो आर द ट्रांसपोर्टर्स विच यू यूज, व्हाट इज द ज्योग्राफी. So for example, in Northeast, we have seen a lot of hijack claims happening. And similarly, it is a terraneous area. So terrains pe we have seen a lot of claims also happening because of jerks, jolts. Similarly, agar if it is a pharma company or any chemicals which are mostly hazardous in nature, so whether those kind of liquid related clauses are there in the policy, cool chain clause, especially for temperature sensitive cargo. Similarly, also what dictates whether claims will be payable. Claims, of course, will be payable if those relevant clauses which are covered under those is are covered under the policy. So similarly, containerized vessels में आप containerized FCL होता है, यानी full container होता है, less than container load होता है. आप bulk में shipments मंगाते हो. बहुत बार क्या होता है कि business के लिए इंश्योरेंस नहीं होता है. आप अपना बिजनेस करते हैं, बट एट टाइम्स यू फॉरगेट और मे नॉट रियलाइज दैट योर इंश्योरेंस इज आस्किंग फॉर सर्टेन डिक्लेरेशंस और सर्टेन representations to be made to the underwriters even before you do the business. Of course, this may not look or may sometimes the clients have not doesn't understand this because they always feel that yeah, we are doing business and it is for the underwriters or the risk manage or the placement team to understand ki what kind of business operations we are doing. So that's very important that we keep in touch with the client, understand their challenges, what kind of new strategies they are deploying to combat those competitive, and in that process we will be able to get a lot of underwriting information. So here my suggestion would be engage with the client as much as possible, ask questions which are relevant to businesses risk, and identify business operations, understand their business in detail. Your questions may be stupid at times, which the which businesses may feel, but very important that we ask such relevant questions to business to understand in detail about business. Similarly, packing and storage practices very important, frequency and similar. We have kept this slide today because if you see, none of the proposal forms in the industry for marine insurance ask these questions. Normally क्या होता है, आप एक पॉलिसी कॉपी अपने ब्रोकर को भेज देते हो और आपको, अगर आपको नया कोड चाहिए किसी से तो आप बोलते हो इसके बेसिस पे कोड दो। बट जो कोट देने के लिए जो इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए, उसमें दो एस्पेक्ट होता है। एक, इंश्योरेंस कंपनी आपसे सवाल पूछती है ताकि आपको बता सके कि आपको क्या प्राइस देंगे। बट हमारा ये जो सवाल है ये इसलिए है ताकि अगर इसके जो भी आंसर्स आते हैं, दैट वी हैव टू इनकॉर्पोरेट इन योर पॉलिसी एज एन एड ऑन कवर, बिकॉज most of the questions which are asked here are not part of the basic policy of marine insurance. These have to be additionally incorporated in the policy, and it cannot happen automatically. It has to be incorporated in form of clauses, conditions, sometimes warranties. Similarly, the other questions are related to refrigerated containers, damage charges, whether they are covered or not, refuse shipments or return shipments to be covered, whether you import machineries or procure it locally, whether you buy second-hand machineries, whether there are over-dimensional cargoes involved in this. Similarly, whether you send promotions and advertising materials as free samples. So these questions, so there are a host of other questions also which we have built up. Some questions, as we understand business, we take it from websites and other information available. But some may be very peculiar to the businesses, and that's why we keep on asking relevant questions to businesses to ensure that we design it right first and every time. Similarly, we do quality check of existing policies, whether what is the rate, what is the scope of discounting on the current programs, what is the claims experience, what is the valuation of whether it is invoice plus 10% or CIF imports. So these, what are the deductibles under the policy? And similarly, on the right hand side, agar if you see, we have highlighted about marine regulations. So these are also very, in fact, we have seen a lot of policies which come to us for quotation. They are not covering high risk areas. So, and we have seen a lot of clients who are exporting to the Middle East, but are not aware that high risk areas where war is not covered, because there was a GIC circular in 15th October 21 that this happened after the Taliban takeover, in fact, wherein if you are exporting to the Middle East, uh, and if you don't have a high risk areas inclusion under your policy, war will not be covered under the policy. Similarly, for Russia Ukraine war, you have to give a disclosure and ensure that this is covered. Similarly, there was recently a notification from a lot of insurance companies on cancellation of cover for because of the Houthi tribe attacks on the Red Sea. So all these export consignments going to the Europe, especially to the through the Suez Canal, was is not covered still. In fact, in most of the insurance companies, unless you are specifically covered under the policy. Similarly, a lot of our clients are exporting to Israel. So, and as per with the challenge with the war which is happening there, so whether your underwriters are comfortable. So these questions you need to ask, especially in the export related consignment. Similarly, there was a guideline which was related to pricing and product construct, wherein sales turnover policy ka minimum premium to be charged was 1 lakh plus GST. So here also a lot of clients with smaller turnover lose out on sales turnover policy if they are not advised right. So what I was trying to tell you here in the last couple of slides in this is that we do a very detailed analysis of your current programs in the light of what you do as business, the industry which you operate, plus the circulars and regulations which govern the maritime insurance policies. And basis that we devise a solution which is called as the, of course, then we also help you get relevant add-on covers, especially there are a host of add-on covers here. We have listed 38. In fact, there are more, but these are the most prominent ones, including the seller's contingency clause, which talks about even if you sell on FOB basis, but if there is a vessel capsizing happening mid-sea, and if you have sold on credit sales, there's high possibility that the buyer may default. So here the seller's contingency clause will come to your rescue and ensure that your consignments will be covered under your policy, even though as per Incoterms, it was not your responsibility. Similarly, second-hand machinery cover, brand and label, very important, especially for brand owners. Once there is a claim, normally the surveyors will ask you to salvage the material with brand, which you may not be comfortable, because if the goods are damaged and if it goes in the open market, it can bring a lot of disrepute to your business. So here brand and label clause comes to your rescue. Similarly, fumigation clause, especially in break bulk cargo, we have seen high sea sales and purchases can be covered, wherein the origin of cargo and delivery is not in the country of origin. Okay, is not in the country where. So, for example, I'm sitting here. I buy from China and sell it to Africa. Okay, so the movement of consignment happens from country A to country B, and I'm sitting in country C. So this is also covered under the policy. So these are few of the add-on covers. So again, these add-on covers also ensure that uh, this doesn't come at any additional cost, frankly, but it ensures that the covers are maximized. And tomorrow, the basic policy, as I told you, ICCA 2009, will ensure that if there's a claim which is not picked up in the base policy, the add-on cover will cover it and ensure that the claims are settled. So the end product is the comprehensive structured solution, which is called as the stop policy, which is a marine sales turnover policy, which has where there's a flexibility to combine all these structured programs of your business operations, your add-on covers, your gap audit report findings, and cover your sales, purchases, imports, exports, job work, interdepot movements, your capital goods, your containers, and sales return, all under one single policy. I personally feel that it's a zero headache policy if you take a marine sales turnover policy for the entire value of exposure which you have. It ensures that as a business owner, you don't need to at least take any stress on what can happen to a cargo while it is in transit, because uh, I personally feel as a business, there are out of your stocks, almost 20-30% of the total value of your balance sheet is not within the factory, but it's outside it, either in the procurement leg or it's on the movement leg. So this can be covered with this policy. Yeah. With this, I go to the next session. So today we discussed about the marine policy coverages and construct. We also spoke about the gap audits and the underwriting process which we follow as an organization, which brings a lot of uh, which gives a lot of comfort to our client, because as we understand your businesses and devise programs and policies which ensures that the claims are settled fair and right. Now I would take you through the claims process. Claims is the moment of truth in insurance. Effective claims management is our USP. But to ensure that the claims are settled right. So the first aspect is that we empower our policy wordings enough so that tomorrow if there's a claim, we have some metal to fight with the surveyors or the insurance company in case of a dispute. But also is a robust process management of claim very important to ensure that we deliver on the right time with zero follow-ups to our stakeholders in supply chain team, which includes a lot of host of activities. What are those activities we'll see in detail. The first is the intimation process, where if there's a claim, normally an intimation comes from a supply chain team from the transporter कि भाई गाड़ी पलटी हो गई या कोई एक्सीडेंट हो गया है या कोई आग लग गई है. And the first thing which we do here, so our claims are handled by Mr. Mahesh Koketkar. Today he was not here because of some personal reason. He's not keeping well, in fact, but I am taking this session on his behalf. And so claims manager, what he does is basically he appoints the surveyor. He ensures that once the surveyor reaches the site, there is a letter of requirement issued, and those documentations are fulfilled by the uh, client side. In fact, we help them in documentation, drafting of those documents. Then we review the claims. Claims managers review it, sorry, and then they create adequate reserves for those loss amounts. And once the assessment comes from the surveyor, then it is sent to the insured for their approval. If the clients are okay with the assessment, they give the approval and then the payment is done. So this is briefly what is followed in most of the claims. So claim registration से लेके पेमेंट तक के प्रोसेस में हमारा पूरा रोल रहता है यहाँ पे. These are, I'll not dwell more here. Intimation and registration where we have got the names of spoke Mahesh, as I told you, with his name, mobile number. Then there's an escalation, second escalation, and registration. अभी claim intimation के लिए आपको क्या क्या चीजें आपको हमें बतानी पड़ती है, ये भी हमने इधर लिस्ट की है. Product, policy, insured name, city, date of loss, time, place, approximate loss, nature of loss with contact person जो साइट पे जो उस लॉस जगह पे है. अभी कभी कभी इसमें ये भी होता है कि अगर if the loss happened at the client side or where it has to be delivered, it is easy. Sometimes it can happen midway also, like रोड पे ही गाड़ी पलटी हो गई. तो we allow that the adequate photographs are taken, videos are taken, and loss minimization is started from point one. The reason being, the more the stock will be exposed or lying at the ground, there is more vulnerability to the stock, and there will be the loss minimization will not happen, right? So most of the insurance companies we work with, they are pro to this, and they support us in this cause, wherein we allow that after adequate photographs are taken, the vehicles are moved to the nearest, closest, safest location where the surveyor reaches on the spot and does the inspection. Typically, normally a very common question which is asked by our team from on the client side as to what kind of documents are required to process the marine claim. So it starts off with invoices, then the LR, very important document, which is basically a contract of affreightment, which says that आपने किसी थर्ड पार्टी यानी इस केस में ट्रांसपोर्टर को माल दिया है और वो ट्रांसपोर्टर आपका माल एक जगह से दूसरी जगह लेके जा रहा है और उसके बजाय उसकी जगह पे आपको एक LR दे रहा है, which is lorry receipt. In case of sea transit, it is bill of lading. In case of air transit, it is airway bill, and so on. Similarly, agar if there is a case of loss, to not a total loss, but loss because of some foreign material ingress or contamination, in that case, quality report may be asked. Similarly, destuffing report may be asked. And most importantly, at the same time, whenever these claims are being initiated with insurance company, it is very important for the client to act as if uninsured. इसका मतलब ये है कि उनको इंश्योरेंस कंपनी की जो राइट्स है उनको प्रिजर्व करना है. और वो कैसे कर सकते हैं? वो ऐसे कर सकते हैं कि जहाँ पे जो लोग इन्वॉल्व है इस प्रोसेस में, और उनको आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि किसके वजह से लॉस हुआ है. तो अगर शिपिंग लाइनर की गलती है, गलत कंटेनर भेज दिया था, या फिर ट्रांसपोर्टर ने के ओवरलोडिंग के वजह से अगर गाड़ी पलटी हो गई, तो मॉनेटरी क्लेम डालना है इन स्टेक होल्डर्स के ऊपर, और ताकि इंश्योरेंस कंपनी का, और ये कुछ बहुत बड़ी चीज नहीं है, इट्स बेसिकली समथिंग विच इज इन राइटिंग, गिविंग अ नोटिफिकेशन आस्किंग फॉर डैमेज सर्टिफिकेट इन केस ऑफ सम नॉन डिलीवरी सर्टिफिकेट या शॉर्टेज सर्टिफिकेट, तो which has to be procured so that the recovery rights can be pursued by insurance companies at a later date. Similarly, in case of any theft or fire, FIR may be required. And once this is done, then you have to prepare a claim bill. Claim bill is nothing but out of the total consignment value, actually आपका नुकसान कितने लाखों का हुआ, कितने हजारों का हुआ, या कितने करोड़ों का, because we have recently handled a marine claim worth 4 crores. So normally in marine, and that too for a mid-size company, and normally such kind of huge claims normally marine में आते नहीं है. But we have got this, and our team was capable to handle and settle that claim well within the time frame. So claim bill of course is required, and subrogation letter in case of 2 lakhs is required. इसके अलावा कोई additional documents may be required, but that will be communicated from time to time, and we will keep your interest and rights protected. Abhi, this is a very important. In fact, in the next 2 slides, we will take you through ki even after doing everything right, there can be disconnect or a gap in expectation of the client, which is the insured here, and the insurance company. And ये क्यों होता है? ये इसलिए होता है क्योंकि कभी कभी कुछ चीजें आप जो प्रिज्यूम करते हैं वो इंश्योरेंस कंपनी के हिसाब से वो सही नहीं होती है, या आप इंश्योरेंस कंपनी जो प्रिज्यूम कर रहे हैं वो प्रिज्यूम कर रही है कि आप ये करोगे, बट आप वो चीज फॉलो नहीं करते। तो ऐसे कॉमनली आइडेंटिफाइड मिस्टेक्स या गैप्स क्या है, उसी को हमने डूज एंड डोंट्स में इनकॉर्पोरेट किया है। सो नॉर्मली इफ यू सी कि अगर आप मॉनसून में कोई वेसल या कोई ट्रक को हायर कर रहे हो, तो उसके जो ताड़पत्री होती है उसके अंदर होल्स नहीं होने चाहिए। अभी ताड़पत्री का काम यही होता है कि इनग्रेस ऑफ वाटर, मतलब बारिश का पानी या जो पानी है वो अंदर ना चला जाए और कार्गो डैमेज नहीं। बट अगर वो ताड़पत्री के अंदर ही बहुत सारे होल्स है, तो पानी रोक जाने से कौन रोक सकता है, और कार्गो खराब होने से मतलब हो ही नहीं सकता कि कार्गो खराब ना हो। तो ये सब चीजों का ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, फर्स्ट पॉइंट से। सेकंड पॉइंट इज कि आफ्टर टेकिंग द डिलीवरी ऑफ द गुड्स आइडियली द कंसाइनी शुड चेक द कि भाई सही है। कल को क्या होता है कि आपने पहले डिलीवरी ले ली, उसकी ओके दे दी, बाद में आपने बोला अरे नहीं इसके अंदर कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स थी, या तो दैट कैन बी अ डिस्कम्फर्ट, और बिकॉज द सर्वे हैज नॉट हैपेंड, और हो सकता है आपने वो माल डिलीवरी लेने के बहुत दिनों के बाद इंश्योरेंस कंपनी को इंटीमेट किया अभी। तो ये सारी चीजें गलत हो जाती है। इसके अलावा वेट चेक करना, शॉर्टेजेस अगर आपको मिले, सपोज 20 बेल्स है उसमें आपको 18 बेल मिले, या बेल्स के अंदर शॉर्टेजेस है, तो वो आपको इंश्योरेंस कंपनी को या BLR के पीछे ही रिमार्क्स डाल के पहले ही दे देना। अगर इफ फॉर एग्जांपल सम रीजन कि कोई कार्गो में कुछ इशू है, तो आपको डिलीवरी नोट के पीछे ही आपके रिमार्क्स दे देने हैं। इसके अलावा अगर कोई कार्गो डैमेज है और आपको मॉनेटरी क्लेम बिल फाइल करनी है, तो वो आपको कुछ स्टिपुलेटेड टाइम फ्रेम में ही अगेंस्ट लाइनर कंपनीज, शिपिंग कंपनीज फाइल करनी होती है। तो वो आपको रजिस्टर्ड AD के थ्रू उनको भेजना पड़ता है, ताकि आप अपना क्लेम या उनके अगेंस्ट अपने राइट्स परस्यू करें। तो हम ऑफकोर्स उसमें आपको गाइड करते हैं, एंड दिस हैज टू बी डन। Similarly, in case of any, the claim has to be immediately notified. You cannot say कि मैं 3 दिन 4 दिन 10 दिन के बाद आके इंश्योरेंस कंपनी को बताओ, that will not work. Similarly, any preserved affected parts along with packing, इस सर्वेयर आने तक आपको चीजें जमा करके रखनी है, ताकि सर्वे अपने हिसाब से उस चीजों को देख सके, समझ सके और अपना लॉस असेसमेंट कर सके। और जब तक वो आगे का गाइडेंस नहीं देता है, उसको डिस्पोज ऑफ नहीं करना। इसके अलावा स्पेशली प्रॉपर्टी क्लेम, जहाँ पे आग लग जाती है, चोरी हो जाती है, आपको FIR लॉन्च करना बहुत जरूरी है। अगर सपोज कोई रीजन से FIR नहीं लॉन्च हो पा रहा है, कि पुलिस या मतलब कोई अथॉरिटी कुछ एडिशनल कुछ मांग रही है कुछ चीजें, तो इन दैट केस इवन एंट्री इन दैट रजिस्टर इज ऑल्सो ओके फॉर अस। सिमिलरली अगर वेट कार्गो है तो सेग्रीगेशन इज रिकमेंडेड। Any loss minimization measure which you can implement to save on the insurance company's cost is most welcome, because one of the very basic funda of insurance is to act as if uninsured. Similarly, agar if you are taking cargo in a reefer containers, you have to ensure that the temperature control is maintained. Similarly, we have seen a lot of claims related to shortage from seal intact containers. So seal intact आपको check कर लेना चाहिए, but still we are seeing losses, but we are covering those losses. In fact, a lot of the exclusions which are there in the base policy, we have identified a way to get a carback on that, and our policy covers a lot of exclusions for smaller limits. But yes, we cover them under the policy, including mold, mildew, fungus infestation के claim या shortage from seal intact containers. These are all part of our add-on covers, right? Do's and don'ts, overloading अवॉइड करना है। अभी ऑफ कोर्स दिस यू मे से एट टाइम दैट ये मेरे कंट्रोल में नहीं है, ट्रांसपोर्टर के कंट्रोल में, you are right, but at least you have to ensure that what you have booked for is not above the gross vehicle weight, जो GVW है व्हीकल का, उससे ज्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए एटलीस्ट आपके एंड पे। बाद में आपके यहाँ से गाड़ी निकल के कुछ हो रही है तो हम उसके लिए लड़ सकते हैं। Sufficiency of packing and storage, you have to ensure that it is worthy or withstanding the transport, which the journey which ideally उसको cover करनी है। It should not happen tomorrow कि that the packing is not sufficient or storage is not lashing is not right to withstand the journey, because this agar if it is identified, then it can go against you. Insurance company, in fact, in policy wordings have the right to reject the claim citing improper stowage. ठीक है ना? Similarly, consignments prone to hijacking, especially I told you, we have handled a couple of cases in Northeast where we have helped our clients to get their the financial value back. Containerized cargo में अगर आप check कर सकते हैं, normally there is a light which is sprayed across the vehicle to identify if there's any white hole to identify, which is nothing but the holes in the containers. And proper lashing and dunnage to avoid any lateral movement of cargo, because अगर कोई cargo हिल डुल रहा है तो jerks and jolts के जो claims है उससे भी cargo को damage आ जाते हैं. तो ये सब चीजें इंश्योरेंस कंपनी सर्वेयर्स की एक्सपेक्टेशन होती है कि we do our best to ensure that this doesn't happen. This I will not dwell into more. This is talking about statutory timeline for lodging the monetary claims. Sorry, apologies for the spelling mistake here. But जैसे कुछ जैसे जैसे आप माल बेच रहे हैं, जैसे एयर रेलवे वेसल यानी बाय ओशन कैरिंग वेसल्स, तो there are certain time frames within which you have to notify those authorities about the losses. We help you do that. Not only draft them, but so once you know whom you have to send, we can give you relevant drafts, what you have to intimate to these authorities on the losses, so that your rights are prejudiced. With this, I come to a very important aspect which talks about our capability of handling large claims. We have handled some claims as large as 4 crores, as I told you, in marine insurance, which is a phenomenal value, especially citing the fact that we handle a lot of MSME companies. In fact, we have handled berth cargo claims up to 20 crores also. But after salvaging and the settlement happened at around 4 crores approximately. So few of the claims which you have handled, or types of claims. So first is the general average claims, which was related to vessel Inter-Asia, which broke fire, and then there was a jettison. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, jettison यानी containers को बीच सी में ओशन में उतार देना, ताकि उसका वेसल का वेट कम हो जाए, ताकि वो वेसल नियरेस्ट पोर्ट तक जा सके. ऐसा हमने 1.5 करोड़ का क्लेम पे किया था. एक आते अगेन एक यूनिक क्लेम हमें आया था. ये जो फर्स्ट क्लेम है वो राइटिंग इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स एंड स्टेशनरी इंडस्ट्री से आया था. सेकेंड क्लेम हमें वोवन सैक्स में आया, जिसमें मोल्ड माइल्ड्यू फंगस हो गया. अभी प्लास्टिक में तो कभी फंगस लगता नहीं है, बट दिस ऑन इन्वेस्टिगेशन वी गॉट टू नो दैट दिस हैपेंड बिकॉज ऑफ द वुडन क्रेट्स जिसके अंदर इनकी पैकिंग और ट्रांसलेट हो रही थी, which had moisture content, which resulted into mold, mildew, and then it went on to affect the plastic packaging material, which was later on rejected by a European MNC company, citing that this is not fit for consumption. And mostly क्या होता है, ये सब पैकेजिंग प्रोडक्ट्स में उनकी ब्रांड एंड लेबल होते हैं, तो ये लोकल मार्केट में ये डिस्पोज भी नहीं कर सकते. तो इट टर्न आउट टू बी अ टोटल लॉस सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग. Similarly, we handle a truck hijacking claim. ट्रक हाईजैकिंग क्लेम नॉर्मली बहुत ही हाई वैल्यू प्रोडक्ट्स, एफएमसीजी प्रोडक्ट्स में आते हैं. ये हमने एक इंजन ऑयल कंपनी के लिए ये क्लेम हमने सेटल किया था, विच वर अगेन पैक्ड इन प्लास्टिक कंटेनर्स, which was settled around 25 lakh rupees. Similarly, we had paid a claim related to cyclone, जहाँ पे packing materials got wet. फिर यूरोसन का जो क्लेम है, इट इज रिलेटेड टू ब्रेक बल्क फॉर पीटीए, एंड पीटीए क्लेम था ये अराउंड 54 lakhs का. और मटेरियल एक्सीडेंटल डैमेज का क्लेम है अराउंड 1239, which was related to fire accident. So these are few claims which we have handled. In fact, the total quantum is much more. We have taken only some unique cases which we identified were challenging for settlement, and here are case studies. If you ask us more in detail, we will be happy to provide you more information and insight so that we can structure programs. Of course, the client's claim will not be disclosed, but we can tell you the case study as to what happened, and that can be a ready reckoner, eye opener for you for your policy design. In fact, if you have any queries, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to handle and guide you on these kind of claims. With this, I hand over to my colleague Sandeep Jadhav. Sandeep will take us through the marine policy operations, which is his core expertise. Hi, Sandeep.
डिस्कस भी किया है जो क्लेम्स के अंडर के साथ आपने पूरा ब्रीफली बताया। तो अभी मरीन पॉलिसी लेने के बाद जो अपने पास क्या है ऑपरेशन टीम्स में, हमारे पास पॉलिसी इनवर्डिंग है, पॉलिसी इंश्योर को पोर्टल एक्सेसिबिलिटी देना है, फॉलो अप विथ इंश्योरेंस कंपनी टू पॉलिसी ऑपरेशन, जनरेट यूजर आईडी पासवर्ड, क्रिएशन द ई मरीन पोर्टल, ट्रेनिंग टू द ई-मरीन पोर्टल से अगेंस्ट जनरेट द सर्टिफिकेट। क्योंकि काफी टाइम क्या होता है कि एलसी डॉक्यूमेंट रिगार्ड्स बैंक के पर्पस बोलते हैं कि मुझे सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए, तो वो ई-मरीन पोर्टल से आप सर्टिफिकेट जनरेट कर सकते हैं। रेगुलर फॉलोअप हमारी टीम में मिस्टर शांति करके वो डिक्लेरेशन मैनेजमेंट करते हैं। तो कुछ गैप मतलब 100 करोड़ का पॉलिसी लिया है और क्लाइंट का टर्नओवर इंक्रीज हो गया है 110 125 करोड़, तो वो डिक्लेरेशन प्रॉपर हम लोग कंपैरिजन करके ये करते हैं। इसके अलावा कुछ सर्टिफिकेट में करेक्शन वगैरह, कुछ लॉजिस्टिक आता है, वो हम लोग क्लाइंट को गाइड करके एक सर्टिफिकेट मैनेजमेंट करते हैं। इसके अलावा कि कुछ क्लाइंट्स का रिकवरी बन रहा है, इंक्रीज हो रहा है आपका, तो रिकवरी पेमेंट करके वो इंडोर्समेंट, ये सब पॉलिसी ऑपरेशन में हम लोग ट्रैक टू ट्रैक कर रहे हैं। प्लस क्लाइंट को जो ई मरीन पोर्टल का जो सर्टिफिकेट जनरेशन का जो ट्रेनिंग है वो अपने तरफ से दिया जाता है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। इसके अलावा सर हमारे पास वैल्यू एडेड सर्विसेज भी अवेलेबल है, जो कंटिन्यूसली अपने पास जो क्लेम्स कंटिन्यूसली अपने पास जो लॉस में छोटे छोटे कंटिन्यूसली लॉसेस आ रहे हैं, तो उसमें वो रिड्यूस करने के लिए अपने पास लॉस टीम भी अवेलेबल है। तो उसके लिए हमारे पास वैल्यू एडेड सर्विसेज, जिसके क्या टाइप के लॉसेस आ रहे हैं, वो मिनिमाइजेशन करने के लिए क्या प्रिकॉशन ले रहे, वो हम लोग गाइड करते हैं क्लाइंट्स को। इसके अलावा जो फार्मास्यूटिकल में टेम्परेचर एक्सपोर्ट जो कंसाइनमेंट, उसमें टेम्परेचर सेंसिटिव मॉनिटरिंग का भी काफी चैलेंज आते हैं, तो वो टेम्परेचर ट्रैक करने का वो भी हम लोग यहाँ पे वैल्यू एडेड सर्विसेज का क्लाइंट को हम लोग देते थे। इसके अलावा कस्टमर सेटिस्फेक्शन जो मॉनिटरिंग काफी सारे क्लेम्स में भी जो आ रहे हैं, तो कस्टमर की डोर टू डोर डिलीवरी जो ट्रैकिंग है, काफी सारे बीच में ट्रांसपोर्टर है जो माल निकाल देते हैं और वो उस टाइम पे डिलीवरी नहीं होता है, वो सब काफी सारे छोटे छोटे चीज से छोटे छोटे क्लेम्स आ रहे हैं, तो वो वैल्यू एडेड सर्विसेज हमारे पास टीम है, वो आपको ट्रैक करके वो वैल्यू एडेड सर्विसेज की इनकॉर्पोरेट करते हैं। इसके अलावा लॉजिस्टिक टीम्स में मोबाइल ऐप भी है, जिससे आप आपका गुड्स कहाँ पे डिलीवर। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड सर, नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। ये सर चीज काफी सारी जो ट्रांजिट मूवमेंट आपने देखा ही रहेगा सर। जो बल्क आपको एक विजिबल भी हो रहा है, ट्रांजिट मैनेजमेंट ऑफ बल्क कार्गो। काफी टाइम क्या होता है, आपका ट्रक यहाँ से ये अपने एक लोकेशन से निकला, वो बी लोकेशन पे रुक रहा है, वहां से वो डिलीवर होके जा रहा है, वो सब ट्रैकिंग मोबाइल ऐप से आप कर सकते हैं। इसके अलावा टेम्परेचर मॉनिटरिंग, जो आपका एक वेसल में जो आपका कंटेनर है वहाँ पे वो देखिए टेम्परेचर किधर कंट्रोल हो है क्या नहीं है, कम ज्यादा हो रहा है या वो कम हुआ है, या उसके वजह से लॉसेस जो आ रहे हैं वो आपको फ्रिक्वेंटली आपको पता कर सकते हैं सर। ये हम लोग वैल्यू एडेड सर्विसेज में आपको ये करते थे। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। जीपीएस ट्रैक से मतलब जो आपका पॉलिसी है वो जीपीएस ट्रैक से कनेक्ट होता है, तो
Sandeep,
नेक्स्ट नेक्स्ट
sorry, your voice was little, I think, some gap, some snag in the network, I think. So with this value-added services, कर लीजिए Sandeep. Yeah, right. Smita, am I audible? I
Yes,
think.
sir.
Right. I think Sandeep is facing some network issues. So we will ask Sandeep to skip the. I'll take on behalf of Sandeep. Uh, right. So this brings. So we have host of features. Matlab just because of the technical snag, our value-added services will include transit management. Will include temperature monitoring, especially for temperature-sensitive cargo. IoT-enabled GPS solution. This is mostly for high-value, low-volume products, mostly applicable for FMCG, jewelries. Then we have got weather alerts, especially with lot of down with lot of cyclones forecasting being happening and on the east coast and the west coast. So how we can give you early warnings so that you can plan your transports. So this is again value added services. And then with this, I come to why insurance manager, of course, design suitable programs, lower your premium discount. Of course, we understand we have dedicated claims for marine service level agreements with insurance companies, unique value added services, which we already told you. We do very industry benchmarking, understanding the raw material, finished goods, and basis that we do underwrite, which we already discussed in our gap sessions. Choice of companies, we normally work with a handful of insurance companies, but where we work, we have the capacity and capability to get you right claims, get you right coverages, and most importantly, get you right pricing also. The complete claims management is our USP. I've already told you what is the internal SOP protocol we follow to ensure that we deliver it right and every time. These are the companies which we work with very closely, including companies like Lombard, which is our leading principal company, which contributes and handles writes our majority of the premium. Then we followed by Tata AG, New India, Bajaj, HDFC, and the others. And with this, I bring to the end of the session for marine cargo insurance webinar. Uh, If you have any doubts or would like to work with us, please reach out to us. We would be very keen to work with you for on your proposals. Please refer us your proposals, and within 48 hours, we are hopeful that we will be able to give you quotes for your renewable premiums or fresh proposals. And with this, I end the session. And thank you very much for joining us on a Saturday. We hope that we have tried it interesting and made it as important as possible for you so that it helps you in informed decision making. Thank you so much.